All right, guys. So today I want to talk to you guys about a little fairy godmother. I want to talk to you guys about unlocking the secret to burning fat. All right. So how many of you guys, and drop me some fire if you can identify with this, how many of you struggle with weight gain after the age of 40? Increased belly fat, your waist starts to get a little bit thicker and you can't seem to get it down, lack of energy, and even strength. Not to mention that shape that you've seen or you're used to seeing that was back in your 20s and your 30s just keeps disappearing and you don't recognize the girl in the mirror anymore. If this is you, drop me some fire. Because today, what we want to talk about is just that. If you struggle with weight gain, belly fat, a loss of energy, even some strength, I am here to give you a little secret. As we age with women, I'm going to try something. I see somebody drop some fire. So I am so glad to see I've got a little company. I'm going to increase my screen here, and I hope that when I do this, I can still see the comments. Let's see. Show comments. All right. We're going to see if this works. All right, guys. So as I was saying, as we start to age, women will tend to see various changes in our bodies, right? So as women, lots of things start to happen as we get older. And one of the biggest things, guys, is a decrease in muscle mass. We start to lose muscle, and it is the number one thing that causes a lot of these challenges. So with a lack of muscle, a lot of things come into play, such as a slower metabolism, weight gain, belly fat, loss of energy. All of these things really are a byproduct of us starting to lose muscle as we age. But here's the thing, guys, there is a key nutrient that can turn this all around for you. Just one nutrient. And it's a nutrient that plays a very crucial role in fat loss. It plays such a crucial role. It is like, I would call it fairy dust when it comes to building lean tone muscle and reducing all over body fat. Can anybody guess what that is? Drop it in the comments if you can guess what that is. I have to take this exit this full screen mode because I can't see comments. If you know what this is, drop it in the comments and let me know what you think the secret nutrient might be. Hey, Terry. Protein. Yes, you guessed it. It is protein. And here's the thing. Protein is one of, as I said, the most crucial nutrients out there when it comes to reducing belly fat, increasing lean mass muscle, which is toned muscle. So for those of you that say you want to get toned, getting toned is basically having muscle, increasing muscle mass. And the more muscle we have, the faster our metabolism goes and the more that we burn body fat. And protein is the number one thing that most women I find do not get enough of. So, how much protein do we need? Well, I'm going to tell you that much like many of you out there, and I find this with most women, they don't really know what protein is. So not only do you not have enough of it in your program, in your diet, because we spend so much time dieting, that is one of the things that we kick out, including me. So when I started way back when on my fitness journey, I didn't even know what protein was. So if you're sitting here going, I don't even really know what protein is, where to find protein, what protein is good for me, don't worry, don't feel alone. I actually had to Google it. I had to Google, like, where do I get more protein when I first started out on my nutrition or on my fitness. Like, this was back before I started competing, back before I got really serious, but I didn't even know what this was either. And when I Googled it and I saw like what the answer was and where to find protein, I very quickly realized that not only was I not getting enough, that I was a carbs and fat girl. I consumed a lot of carbs and a lot of fat. Both are essential macronutrients as well, but with the missing link, i.e. protein, it, as you're going to find out as we go through this, it just doesn't work. You need a nice balance of protein. So, what do we need protein for? And how much do we need? Well, first of all, the ideal amount of protein that every female should have is at least a minimum of 100 grams of protein a day. Now, ideally, you should have 1 gram per body pound. All right. So, but at a minimum, 100 grams a day. But ideally, we should be consuming 1 gram per body pound. Now, most women I find consume anywhere from 80 to 50 grams, not nearly enough protein that you should have in your diet. So, how do I do this? Well, there's several ways that you can get more protein in your body. But before we dive into that, let's really talk a little bit about why it is such a key component to fat loss. Like, can anybody guess why consuming more protein might help you when it comes to fat loss? Then we'll talk more about how you can get it in. Anybody have any ideas? Throw it out there, drop me some fire. And by the way, I want to see in the comments, how much do you think you're getting of protein a day before we move on? Like, what do you, so if you're a client of mine, you better know how much protein you're eating. However, if you're somebody that's, in here is watching this for the first time, this is your first time meeting me. This is your first time consuming anything, any type of educational material from me. If this is your first time hearing about protein, tell me, like, on an average, how much protein do you think you're getting? Drop it in the comments. Let me see. What are you getting as far as protein goes, Terry? How much protein are you getting? And again, guys, if you are just tuning in, please make sure that you hashtag I am here. Give me your name, because unless you tell me who your name is, who you are, all I can see is Facebook user. So let me know who you are. I love an interactive crowd. So make sure you let me know you're here. Drop me some fire. But right now, I want to know, how much protein do you think that you are consuming each day? Because remember, we should be consuming about 100 grams a day at the bare minimum, and ideally 1 gram per body pound. Ooh, I love some of these answers. Yes. All right, so we were talking about, why do we think protein is important? It keeps you fuller. Yep. And somebody says, right now I'm getting 100 grams, but when I travel you get less than 100 grams. Got it? Okay. So here are a couple of the reasons, and you're going to like this first one, guys. One of the reasons protein is key to burning fat and helps so much when it comes to weight loss is it increases the thermal effect. Now, what the hell is the thermal effect? What does that even mean, Jules? Protein has a higher thermic effect than carbohydrates or fat does. So what that means is it requires more energy to digest. Yep. So basically, you are burning more calories eating protein than you are eating carbohydrates or fats. Now, again, carbohydrates and fats are important, but yes, you just heard me correctly. Eating more protein is going to help you burn more body fat, even at rest. Holy shit, for that reason alone, you all should be putting more protein in your diet. Don't you agree? Trot me some freaking fire for that one. Yes, write that down, guys. One of the biggest things, put it in the comments, is it increases the thermal effect. You burn calories eating protein because it requires more calories to digest. That's the thermic effect. So it requires a numerous amount of calories just to digest protein. And that's not true for carbohydrates and fats. And again, I'm not saying carbohydrates are our friends. However, that is one benefit of eating protein. Another one, somebody mentioned this already, it keeps you satiated. So yes, it keeps you full. So foods that are rich in protein are going to keep you feeling full. They're going to help reduce like cravings. Okay, you'll be in the refrigerator less because you'll feel full. It's like an appetite control, basically. So eating more protein is going to help you keep you more full, help control your appetite, reduce cravings, and basically it's aiding in weight loss management. All right, so who knows what another reason could be? Oh, don't mind me, my screen just went a little crazy. I knew I was going to have fun with this. I have far too many screens up right now. What is another possibility of what protein might be good for? Drop it in the comments if you know. How about this? It's essential for preserving lean muscle mass, aka that pretty ass shape that you all want. Yep, muscle is what's going to help you preserve lean muscle mass. Holy shit, Jules, I don't want to get big. You're not going to get big, girl. Here's the deal. You all come to me and you say, I want to be lean and toned. Well, this is the thing. Being lean and toned means less body fat, more muscle. So as you gain more muscle, that's what gives you the shape that you're looking for. As the body fat comes off, it starts to unveil that pretty shape. So we want to preserve the muscle mass. We want to at least maintain it, if not increase it. Why? Because having more muscle on us prevents a decrease in the metabolism. So the metabolic rate will go down. In other words, your metabolism will start to slow down the less muscle you have on your body. So enter back in what we talked about in the beginning. As we age, if you remember in the beginning, I said what? One of the biggest things that happens to us as women as we age, we do what? We lose muscle density. We lose muscle. What happens is our estrogen levels start to drop, testosterone drops, and what these two things start to do is these hormones start to change in our body. The biggest thing that they do is they don't really slow down our metabolism. What they do is they decrease our muscle. We start losing muscle, ladies, at the rate of up to 5% a year, starting at the age of 40. Let's not talk about the fact that you become less active as well. You're sitting at a desk more often. You're not moving like you did when you were younger. So muscle starts to decrease. Therefore, the metabolism starts to go down. So muscle is essential, ladies, to preserving lean muscle mass, to give you that pretty shape that you're looking for. So don't worry about getting big. And protein is a key component in it. Now, are there other things that help to preserve muscle? Absolutely. However, eating more protein alone is going to help with that. So what this is it's called protein synthesis. I can talk today. And what this means is, this is basically, how do I say this simply? This is really the process that's responsible for muscle repair and growth. So protein is a big piece. So we have to eat protein for all the things that I just talked about. Of course, we want to strength train. We have to do something to help build that muscle, right? Well, the protein consumption helps to also repair the breakdown of cells and tissues in the body. So carbohydrates come into play because they give us energy, okay? Fats come into play because they help with hormonal balance. But protein is what helps to repair the cells and the muscle in the body. Not to mention it does help with bone density, which is another thing that happens as we age. All right. So speaking of that, when we look at this, basically, guys, what we're saying is you need protein after you're working out. This is what's going to help support your muscle growth. Super important, and it's going to help with the strength. It's also going to help in balancing out the hormones. Okay. Big piece is it helps with what we call a growth hormone, and which is basically IGF-1. It's an insulin in the body. What the hell is that, Jules? Okay. Well, plain and simple. If you Google it, it's just going to tell you this is a hormone that we produce, an insulin-like hormone that we produce in the body, that helps us to develop muscle, helps to repair any tissue in the body, as well as it helps with bone density and bone growth. So it's basically, and when we combine that all together, it is basically what's going to give you that toned look. Okay. That's going to equal a more toned look. It's going to equal more strength. It's going to equal stronger bones. It's going to equal less body fat. All of these things from one little nutrient that none of us are getting enough of. Who knew? It's a simple fix. All right. So, where the hell do I get protein from? So, Jules, you promised me you were going to talk to me a little bit about where protein can be found. Well, protein can be found in any lean meat. Some of the best sources that you're going to find is lean meats like poultry. So think of chicken breasts, turkey breast. Thanksgiving's coming up. Fish, white fish is very good for you. Salmon is good too. It's a little fattier and it has some healthy omega fats in it. But a leaner fish would be any of your white fishes, shrimp, egg whites, eggs. If you're a vegetarian, you can find it in lots of different beans and plant-based protein products like tofu, tempeh. These can all be great examples of protein. Raise your hand if you're getting enough protein. Raise your hand if these are things that you are including in your meals. So to get an adequate amount of protein, ladies, into your nutrition plan, you're going to want to aim for 20 to 25 grams each meal. And you should be eating at least 5 times a day. So how are you going to do that? That's going to be like 3 to 4 ounces of one of these lean meats, or possibly a protein substitute, like a really high quality protein powder. But always the best is going to be to chew it. All right. But I do understand a lot of women are very busy. So getting a good high quality protein that has 20 to 25 grams of protein in it. I personally like First Forum. It's a very high quality protein. You do have to be careful with some protein powders. They can be processed at a very high heat, which means they don't have the amount of protein in them or quality protein in them that they say on the backs, because the process of the high heat actually destroys a lot of the protein, and then they pack it full of fillers, which can give you a bellyache. But looking, like I said, to sources like chicken breast, ground turkey, or ground turkey breast, even some really lean red meat can be great for you. As females, we do need to be careful of consuming too much red meat. I don't recommend having red meat more than like once a week, to twice a week tops. But you can find it in all of these sources. All right, so I love engagement. So who can tell me what their favorite source of protein is? What's your favorite source of protein? Give me some answers. I like engagement. All right. So we already talked a little bit about how you can get enough. You want to make sure that you get enough by, as I said, eating how many grams per meal? 20 to 25. And then dispersing it throughout the day between 4, 5, even 6 meals. The more often you eat, the more satiated you're going to feel, as well as it's going to help to keep your metabolism moving. The body, specifically if you're in a caloric deficit, can be tricked by the fact that it eats several times a day. And again, it stops you also, if you think about this, ladies, from wanting to binge eat at night. So if you eat 20 to 25 grams of protein with every meal, and you're eating anywhere between minimum of 4 to 6 meals a day, every 2.5 to 3 hours, your body is going to start to burn body fat very, very quickly. You're going to see a very big increase in your energy levels. You're going to feel, which is your metabolism picking up, and it's starting to burn body fat. And as you're building the muscle and you're getting stronger and you're getting that lean shape, you're also burning body fat while you rest, because the more muscle you have on your body, you burn more body fat even when you're resting. So spreading it out throughout the day is a great idea. Making sure that you're getting 20 to 25 grams can help. So let's talk a little bit more about what it can look like besides protein. So now we have talked about protein, and doing this one thing alone, just this one thing. If you are listening to this and you change this one thing and you start to add more protein into your diet, your nutrition plan, you will see a difference. If you do this for 30 days, you will start to see a difference in your body. Now, in addition to that, if you layer in strength training and you sit back on the cardio and you start to incorporate more strength training into your exercise regime, you will also start to see a big difference. because what happens when we start to strength train is we start to build the muscle. So as we talked about, strength training is going to break the muscle down, and then the protein is going to help build that muscle back up. So basically, it's going to, through protein synthesis, going to repair that muscle and start to give it more shape. Start to increase your metabolism and help you learn the body fat. So strength training is something that we want to do. We want to create some type of resistance when we're working out. Now, is cardio bad? No, not really. Cardio's not bad for you. We all need cardiovascular exercise. Heck, we need it for that muscle that we have called our heart, okay? So cardiovascular work is important. It's important for our endurance. It's important for our heart, which is a very important muscle in our body. However, too much of it can actually have the opposite effect, and it can cause the body to start to want to store body fat versus burn it. What happens when we don't get enough sleep, when we do too much cardio and we put a lot of taxing stress on the body, the cortisol levels will start to go up. And when our cortisol levels start to go up, our body goes into what's called fight or flight, okay? And it basically then starts to conserve energy versus burn it. That means everything that you're putting into your body, instead of burning it, it starts to basically store it for a rainy day. God forbid you continue to tax it, or if you're not eating, it's just going to hold on to it because the body wants to survive. So the more that you stress the body out, so you heard me say sleep. If you're not getting enough sleep and you start to raise your stress levels, you can actually be very counterproductive to even the protein that you're eating, even the strength training you're doing. If you're not getting enough sleep, I'm here to tell you that it can have the opposite effect, and you can actually put your body into a bit of shock, and it will start to hold on to body fat because it works in the reverse. It wants to survive. So the more sleep you get, the less cardio that you do, and the more strength training you do, the more that you're going to build the muscle. The body is going to work with you, and it's going to want to burn the food that you're putting in your body as fuel versus storing it as fat or for a rainy day. So you want to make sure you're doing some type of resistance training. You do want some cardio because you want to make sure that your endurance levels are up, and again that you are giving some cardiovascular exercise to your heart, and that you're getting enough rest. So how do I know if I'm doing resistance training, Jules? Well, let's think about it. If you're on a treadmill running, or you're on a bike, maybe a bike a little bit more, but if you're on a treadmill running or walking, are you getting any type of resistance? No, not really. So resistance means that your body weight, doing a push-up, that's got resistance in it. Utilizing a band or a dumbbell, right? That's putting resistance on your muscle. So it doesn't necessarily mean you have to lift super heavy, but you putting some type of resistance on your body is called strength training. That is going to break down the muscle and help to build more muscle, or at least maintain the muscle that you have, so that you continue to effectively have a strong metabolism, and you have less risk of your metabolic rate decreasing and your metabolism slowing down and storing more body fat and having less energy and not having that pretty shape. Make sense? If this makes sense, drop me some fire. So, couple of things that we're talking about here is, one, guys, getting enough protein. So let's talk about some of the takeaways that we might have had. Anybody have a takeaway? Drop in the comments what your biggest takeaway was today. Let's go there first. Biggest takeaway, biggest aha moment that you had. That maybe you're not getting enough protein. That maybe protein is something that is the biggest missing component when it comes to fat loss. Yeah. It's crazy, isn't it? So what we want to do is make sure, one, we're consuming enough protein. Two, guys, making sure we start to incorporate some type of resistance training to our workouts. Lifting weights. Lifting weights is not going to make you get bigger. All that it's going to do is help you develop a more lean, toned look that everybody wants. On top of that, it's going to help to keep you from losing your metabolism, from your metabolism slowing down, from a decrease in that metabolic rate. It's going to help increase or keep your metabolism running at a very fast pace, which is, one, going to give you the energy that you've been lacking. Two, help you burn fat. There's a big difference between weight loss and fat loss. Fat loss is much more sustainable. Fat loss is something that when you lose weight because you're losing body fat, it is going to be longer lasting and more sustainable for many of the reasons that we just talked about. Higher metabolism, faster running metabolism. Weight loss can be a combination of, have you ever heard the term skinny fat? Who's heard the term skinny fat? Drop me some fire if you've heard skinny fat. Write in the comments, skinny fat. Maybe you've even felt like you were skinny fat, right? That is weight loss sometimes. That's when we lose a combination of muscle and fat. Okay, and sometimes it can be more muscle loss than it is fat loss. And that can give you a lack of shape and what a lot of women refer to as skinny fat. Here's a good way of explaining it. Have you ever heard that muscle weighs more than fat? Okay. Well, that's not necessarily true. A pound of fat and a pound of muscle both weigh a pound. But what basically we are saying when we say muscle weighs more than fat is this right here is a pound of fat. This is a pound of muscle. The difference is the density. A pound of muscle takes up much more space than a pound, or a pound of fat takes up a lot more space than a pound of muscle. Did I say that backwards? So if you can see it against the white wall, this takes up more space. This has a lean tone look. It's tighter. So ladies, when the scale, as you're losing body fat, may not always equate to what you think is fat loss, because as you exchange one for the other, your body becomes tighter, leaner, stronger, sexier, and less lumpy, jiggly, and wider. So yes, that's kind of what you're talking about when we talk about wanting that lean tone look and muscle. All right, I see a question here. What brand of protein would you recommend? So I personally like First Form protein. It is a brand, and I can drop the link in here for you. There's a couple of different types of protein. So, and most brands out there are not very good quality. Now, if you go to a really high quality nutrition store, Oh, depending on where you live, the vitamin store can have some decent quality protein in there. Like I said, I do recommend First Form because I've had a long time relationship with them, and I do know that they use a cold processing technique when they produce their protein, which means that the protein isn't extracted at a high heat and it's not destroyed. And they don't use a lot of fillers. I've had many, many clients that have come to me and said, and this could be you as well. I don't do well with whey protein. And the reality is it has nothing to do with the whey. It's actually the fillers in a very poor quality protein. So many of my tribe members that start on First Form have zero problems where they had problems before with protein. They have no problems with the First Form protein. And the biggest reason is it's a higher quality protein. It is processed at a cold temperature and it has no fillers in it. Now, the other thing that I'll add to this question that you're asking, and as I said, I will drop the links in here. I'm not sure who this is, but I will drop the links in here for you after the call and let you know which ones. But there's two different types. So with First Form, there's a what we call an isolated protein. Now in First Form, that is called Formula One. An isolated protein is a protein that digests very, very quickly, and it's very good to use after a workout. Meaning because it digests very quickly, it will get into the bloodstream and start repairing the muscle very, very quickly. The side effect or the not so good thing about that is it does digest quickly. Therefore, it doesn't leave you feeling as full as a more meal replacement protein. So a more meal replacement protein has more casein protein intermixed in it, which will keep you feeling fuller longer. Okay, so it's not necessarily that it has more protein in it. It's a type of protein, and it'll keep you feeling fuller longer. Now with First Form, that is level 1. So using their level 1 protein still is going to give you the same benefits. It just will break down and digest slower as a lean meat would. Okay, so it's just not as fast digesting. So those are the biggest difference between an isolated protein and a true whey protein, okay, or a meal replacement protein. And they're both whey, but one digests slower because it has more casein in it, where the other one is more isolated. Does that make sense? I'm not sure who you are, but if that answered your question, give me a hell yes. Do we have any other questions or big takeaways? Now is your chance. You got me. And actually, I'm going to come out of this screen. Any other questions, guys? Terry, if you're still here, tell me your biggest takeaway. Jennifer, if you're still here, what's your biggest takeaway? Any questions, drop them in the comments. I'm here to, okay, good. I'm glad that helped. I am glad that helped. I'm here to answer any other questions that you guys might have. But like I said, if you're new to this tribe, if you're just tuning in, one of the things you need more sleep. Absolutely, Terry. Yes, sleep is important. One of the biggest things that you can do, just one small little tweak that you can make, and little things make big changes, guys. Small shifts can equate to very big moves. And just simply, if the only thing that you can do is to increase your protein intake, that alone, I promise you, if you do that for the next 30 days, it's not going to have earth-shattering results, but it's a step in the right direction. And I promise you, you will start to see change. Why? For one, as I just said, the thermic effect of it. It burns. Eating more protein is actually going to increase your metabolism just by the fact that it takes more to digest it. Okay, so basically the thermic effect is your body has to heat up more. All right, so it creates a lot of heat and burns, uses more energy to actually digest the protein. So that alone. Number 2, it's going to keep you fuller. All right. So just that change alone is going to also keep you more satiated and more full. So you're going to be less likely to snack or have cravings. And then, not to mention, it's going to help slow down the process of muscle loss, at least help you start maintaining it. And then just start to layer in movement. Even if all you can do is a few push-ups. Maybe they're push-ups on your knees. Maybe they're push-ups on a wall. Maybe you start to walk at an incline. You do a few lunges, a few squats. Stand up, sit down on a chair. That's resistance training. That's resistance training. Anytime that you pick up a band, a dumbbell, or even use your body weight, you start to put a little bit of that in, and you're going to see a big difference. And if you're here in this tribe, you're lucky. We do challenges twice a month. So if you start eating more protein, you participate in some of the challenges we have going on, even if you're not in the tribe with the rest of the women in here, you will start to see little shifts. You will start to see results. You can do it. I promise you, you can. And just wait. We've got something fun coming in December. So make sure you stay tuned in. What about vegan protein powder? Great question. So vegan protein powder. So first of all, my question would be, and I can't see who this is, but I would like you to answer me this question. Why vegan protein powder? Are you a vegan? And are you a vegan for a specific reason? Or do you just feel that being a vegan, or are you just vegan because you think it's healthy? If you can answer me that question, do you? Looking at the first part, let me send you a link. But first of all, before you would go into a vegan protein powder, my question is why? Because you're a vegan? Or because you think it's healthier? Because I would only recommend a vegan protein powder, even first forums, if you are a vegan because of religion or certain health reasons. But if you're a vegetarian or a vegan because you think it's healthy, not necessarily. We all need protein. My suggestion would be to lean in to, if you have a challenge with proteins and animal proteins because of, and I don't blame you, because of what they feed animals, how they treat animals that, we consume, the hormones and things that they put in it, then I would lean towards grass-fed. That's what I do personally, cleaner proteins versus just being vegan, because animal sources are some of the best sources of protein. That's my belief personally. Can you be a vegan and get enough protein? Yes. It's just a little bit more challenging. Now, if you are, no. So I think I just explained that. You're not a vegan, but you would think it'd be healthier. No, not at all. It's a misconception. Most vegans, unfortunately, most vegetarians and vegans that I know, because they're unaware, consume way too many carbohydrates and fats and not nearly enough protein, because it can be very challenging to get protein in on a vegan diet. You have to really know what you're doing. Really know what you're doing. So it's not necessarily healthier. Look for lean meats, clean lean meats that are grass-fed. If you're looking at fishes, look for wild caught versus farm raised, and just shop for cleaner meats that are, pesticide free, full, free of any hormones, things like that. Just look for cleaner versions and stick to a clean protein. Now, if you want a protein powder that doesn't have any additives, First Form is pretty clean, but their First Form natural, for their Formula One natural is dye-free and everything. So that one is very lean. But I will drop you my link here after we close out the call. So you've got the link and a few recommendations in here and of different flavored protein powders. Did that answer your question? Now, as far as, being healthy, pulling in lots of green vegetables alongside of your protein and your carbohydrates is going to be super important. Making sure you're getting a lot of good greens. So that's a really good question. Vegetables are very good for you, as are fruits. Making sure you're getting the right amount of them and having a plate where you have, as I said, 20 to 25 grams of protein in it, that should be your main source. And then adding in a healthy complex carb such as rice, a potato, sweet potatoes, sourdough bread can be really great. Leaning into really good complex carbs that are going to give you the energy that you need. You have to be careful of simple carbs that digest very quickly. A lot of your processed food, pasta, a lot of fruits can be simple carbs too. Berries are a lot better for you than most fruits, like a banana versus a berry. Bananas can be good. They have a lot of potassium, but they are very much a simple complex carb, which means they give you a big fast dose of energy very quickly and you can crash from it. And that's a whole different topic that I'll do a different day on carbohydrates, but making sure you get a good complex carb that's going to give you long lasting energy, like oats. As I said, a brown rice, a white rice. White rice is a little more simple. Brown rice will digest a little bit slower. Potato, sweet potato. All of those will give you a little longer lasting energy. Adding berries can give you a very quick burst of energy, but they are low glycemic, so they won't spike your sugar too much. Then looking at good, clean fats, like sources of fat, which would be like an avocado. Some nuts are really good sources of fats. Nut butters, be careful with them. They can be addictive, but all of these can be coconut oil, avocado oil, all great sources of fat, just making sure you're careful with it. And again, that's a whole different topic, but your average percentage should be about a 35 to 40% of your caloric intake should come from protein, with anywhere around 30%-ish coming from 30% coming from carbohydrates. So kind of a decent balance there, depending on your weight and size. And then about anywhere from 30 is a high, but to 24% coming from fats. So the least amount should be really coming from fats. I like specifically in more mature women, I recommend around 24% of your caloric intake being fats, and the rest is carbohydrates and protein, with protein in the lead. Does that help? Which should be a whole different topic. All right. Any more questions? Guys, if this was helpful, let me know. And like I said, if you come in and you watch this on the replay, #replay, ask any questions. I'll make sure that I come back here and take a look. It was super great meeting you all. Thank you for the great questions, and I hope this was helpful. Peace.